Hi, I'm Tracy Pierce. Thanks for joining me here for this free series of mini animal communications. This was inspired by, well, really the animals. As things here in the US started to shut down for the coronavirus, I was driving back and forth from my house to a house where I was house sitting. And I really started to wonder what the animals thought about this whole situation. You know, like suddenly the humans are like not out and about. What do you guys think about that? And what was really born from this is this series of little mini animal communications. They're not as in depth as if you would do a session, like a paid 30 or 60-minute session. But I really wanted to give the animals a chance to share with us their vision on what's happening, anything that they wanted to share with us in the world, and to really just open it up as a platform for the animals to share their wisdom with us. So that's what we're doing here today. All right, so I'm going to share, we've got two kitties here today that we're going to see who wants to come forward. So this first kitty is Artemis, and I absolutely adore this look on her face. Artemis, let me see, we've got, Artemis is 15, she'll be 16 in May, and let's see, her human sent a little bit of information about her. So Artemis is the name for the Greek goddess of the hunt. And this kitty, Artemis, once killed a rat that got into her house. All right, so we'll see what Artemis has to share, but then we're also going to check in and see if Llewellyn, see, yeah, his picture popped up there. So I call him Lou. His full name is Llewellyn, and it's the name of a Welsh prince from long ago, and the actual spelling is L-L-E-W, and so she's saying that in Welsh it's actually kind of hard to pronounce, and I'm sure I'm not pronouncing it correctly. So I'm feeling like Artemis actually wants to come forward first, so I'm going to switch back to her picture. And I'm just going to take a moment and get quiet and see what Artemis would like to share with us today. So the first thing that comes forward to me about Artemis is she feels very solid and grounded. I feel her almost like a rock that's like maybe a big rock that's kind of planted into the earth a bit. She says that's definitely part of her big work with her human, is to help her stay grounded. And I've been doing a very good job of that, she says. Yeah, she's pointing to her fur. She's like, even the brownness, the dark kind of earthiness of her fur helps her human to remind her to be more grounded. What else do you want to share with us about yourself, about the world, whatever you'd like to share with us, Artemis? What's most important for us to know? So what she's showing me is, like, no matter where she is in the house, she has this way of spreading her energy out, particularly in kind of a horizontal fashion. But also, she says, it definitely, so whatever, the house where Artemis lives has 3 levels. And so she's showing whatever level she's on, she really horizontally spreads her energy out into that level of the house. And she's really like, thunk, this holding thing that she does. She says it does spread out to the other levels of the house, but particularly whatever level that she's on, that's where this real grounding energy starts to come in. Is that, do you feel like that's your main job in the house, Artemis, or are there other things that you do? Well, I'm always on lookout, she says. She's saying like that's part of the groundedness, is to to have this idea or knowing about what's going on around you. She shows herself kind of walking from window to window, like kind of like a patrol around the edges of the house. I'm seeing it on the main first level. I keep an eye on things. I make sure everything is grounded and in order, Artemis says. And then I feel her energy get really soft, and she says, but I'm also very, very sweet. I'm soft. She's pointing to her fur again, and she's like, my fur is so soft. So if you're joining us live here with Artemis, on the bottom of the Zoom panel, there should be a box that says chat. So if you have a question for Artemis, you can go ahead and type it in there. Artemis, is there anything that you want to share with your favorite human or anything else? So your human Artemis would like to know, how do you handle your household's anxiety? So she's showing me this pattern of, it really goes up and then it comes down. It goes up, and she's showing, this is the anxiety level in the household, that it does kind of, it goes on this, it's almost sort of like a wave pattern. How do you handle that, Artemis? Well, when I feel my human's anxiety going up, she says, I make myself even more grounded. She says, sometimes it does make a little bit of tightness in my belly. Show me that again, please. Yes, she says sometimes it does create this kind of contracting in her belly, but that's part of what she has to really work on, is then dropping lower. She's showing like low belly, even as she's sitting now, like that layer of her belly that touches the ground. Really getting in touch with that and letting it kind of spread open a bit. And she feels, she says sometimes there is this sort of shock feeling that comes into her energy, like if she gets hit by the anxiety in a way that like she wasn't expecting it. So Artemis, do you have a good idea of when these anxiety waves are coming then? Yeah, she says most of the time there's like a subtle thing that happens in the energy, like right before her human feels a real big spike of anxiety. So Artemis feels she's pretty tuned into her human, and she gets that little energetic intuition, like, oh, this is what's going to happen next thing. And so she knows that's when she really has to make her energy very big. Thanks, Artemis. So I feel Artemis kind of starting to point towards Lou. So I'm going to switch over to Lou here and see if he wants to share anything with us. Okay, so coming here to Lou. Yeah, I definitely feel a different energetic structure in Lou. Like he doesn't have that groundedness in the same way that Artemis does. He feels much lighter, more kind of ethereal, like airy. So Lou passed away actually just in February of this year. And there was another littermate that he had who lived with them, and both of them died of, I think it was feline leukemia they both had. And they were both under 2 years old when they passed away. So the little sister passed away last year in August, I think it was. So Lou, I wonder, you know, what do you want to share with us? I know that you're human. Maybe had some questions about you leaving so early. Yeah, I'm seeing that question pop up in the chat, Lou. Why you left so early? Yeah, and he is showing, so the other kitty's name was Ari, and he's showing them coming together to their human's house at like as a unit. And what he's showing is like we really carried these levels, lessons about impermanence. Can you expand on that a little bit, Lou? He's showing it like sort of these extremes of, well, Artemis is here for a long time with the human, but we came we did come to just be here a short time. And it's not like we intentionally wanted to break your heart, is what Lou is saying to his human, but there is this letting go in. Please show me that again, Lou. I don't think I understood you. Yeah, he is showing his lessons really came around death and impermanence, and he's showing there have been these other humans in his owner's life that have passed away within, you know, the last few years. There have been a lot of ups and downs for her with humans dying as well that she knows, and there's a way of really loving people, animals, without any kind of attachment to how long they might be around, is what he's saying. And that's part of what our lessons were with you, is that love isn't bigger or better depending on how long it lasted. And he shows this really big heart warmth energy coming from both him and his little sister. And he's like, you brought so much love into our lives during the time that we lived with you, even though it wasn't very long. And he wants you to know that, yeah, this really is about time, is what he's showing, is like really giving your all, really, really loving, pouring all of your love into the things, the people, the animals that you do really love, no matter how short their time is, because it is very precious no matter what. He's really encouraging his human to keep loving with a big, big, full heart, no matter what. No matter how long you think you're going to be here, or how long you think the other human or the other animal might be here. I just feel this like massive outpouring of love and warmth from Lou's heart. It's just like pouring out. And he's showing him and his little sister. It's almost like their spirits are kind of above the house where their human lives right now. And it just feels like this kind of gold warmth pouring down into the house. He's like, we're still here. We're still here in spirit, and very much pouring love into your life, is what he says. Okay. Thank you, Lou. That's really kind of profound. Lou, is there anything else that you want to share with the world, or with your humans here? With your human? Yeah, his view is that so many animals come into humans' lives to help enhance their heart energy and to help them reconnect with it is what he's saying. He's saying um, like it's easy to love little babies and little kids before emotions come up and they become, teenagers are difficult to deal with. Um, But animals really touch this very, very special place in people's hearts where it's almost like we kind of remain children in some ways, or people allow us to remain in that more simple mind frame kind of state. So it's easier for them to love us because of what we're not we're not making huge demands on them and or creating drama like he's showing people fighting and these kind of like lightning coming out of each other. It's like it's just not because of the way we're able to connect with humans. um, yeah, they love us in a different way than they love other humans necessarily, and it's easier for us to come in and work with particularly heart and love energies with them. Yeah, I definitely have experienced that, Lou. Okay, so Lou, your human would like to know, what do you think about the coronavirus and impermanence? So what he shows is, there is this part of us, this higher part of us, maybe you call it your higher self, that is like, it is eternal, but like, that's just this tiny little part of us. And then there's our physical bodies, there's what we believe down here, or our personal preferences. Like those things are not permanent. Those things are just like passing blips, like along the line. And yeah, she's showing like human existence down here on earth is, he's like, really all the whole thing is about impermanence, like trying to get humans to remember the eternal part of them. And he's like, once you get in contact with that eternal part of yourself, impermanence becomes much more like a way of life. Lou, could you expand on that a little bit? I think there's more. Yeah, he just keeps showing this ball of light, like this is the permanent, this is the eternal part of you, and then everything else will eventually fall away. He just shows like falling away, like your emotions, your beautiful blonde hair you think you have, like that's not really who you are. That's what he's saying. It's like, even now you're looking at this picture of me and that's how you are able to connect with my spirit, but this picture of me, that cat body who I was, is not who I really was. Okay, do you have any views on the coronavirus? Well, it's more about impermanence is what he's saying. Is yeah, it's giving people a really different perspective of challenging their mortality is what he's saying. He's like, especially people who living in the West, or what they might call developed nations, like you just expected that everything was going to keep on going, the economy would chug along, and like nothing could ever really shut the world, shut the economy down. um, he's laughing. He's like, look at what the coronavirus is showing you. It's showing you lessons of impermanence as well. Like the society, he's showing, and honestly, I don't know that much about the Roman Empire, but he's kind of like showing this period of time with the Roman Empire, and like they never thought they could fall either. And look, like they thought they were this great society and they fell. And he said that if there's this possibility that the same thing could happen, in the United States, in Europe, in more of these quote unquote developed countries where systems are being rocked. And this is a lot about impermanence, is what Lou says. Thank you, Lou. So I see we're coming up on our 20 minutes here. So if you have any last questions for Lou or Artemis, go ahead and type them in. Okay, so Kim wants to know, do you feel like people are getting these lessons? And what do you feel we can do as individuals to get through this and grow? He says people are getting it. They may not be getting it in the terms that I'm describing, like they're not getting, oh, the world's impermanent. But they're getting that things are changing and that life isn't always the way we think it should be, or the direction that the leaders are pointing it. Like, things don't always happen. There are these bigger influences happening. Yeah, and he's showing like some people like they're gonna have to be smacked around by it a little bit more than other people. Like some people who are more sensitive or have maybe a greater spiritual awareness, like they're already kind of aware of this impermanence. And he says the people who are more rigidly kind of plugged into the cultural or societal norm, like they're the ones who are feeling a little more rocked. Those are the people who might need a little bit more slapping around, is what he's showing from the virus. We all learn our lessons in different ways, and sometimes it does take like a smack up against the side of the head for people to really get it. Otherwise, they just keep their nose to the grindstone and keep going. So do you have any advice for us as individuals, how we can get through this and grow? He's really encouraging to keep tuning into our higher self, into this higher part of ourself. Yeah, what he's showing is, you know, with a lot of religions and even sometimes with spirituality, that we go directly from being a peon human down here to wanting to tune in or connect to the divine. And sometimes we just skip over this middle part of, we have a higher self that is eternal, and that is connected to the divine as well. So what he's encouraging is, instead of, if you're somebody who just connects from down here to the divine, to maybe take a step in between where you go and you connect to your higher self, and then allow and feel how that is connected to the divine. Like, don't take your higher self out of the equation, is what Lou is saying. Wow, that's some pretty hard-hitting stuff there, Lou. Thanks so much for sharing that with us. Well, thank you so much, kitties, for agreeing to talk with us here today. Your wisdom has really meant a lot, and I'm so happy you shared so much. And thank you so much for all of you who are joining me here live. I will continue to do these free little mini animal communication sessions at least through the end of April. So if you're watching this and you have an animal friend, it could be a domestic pet or it could be a wild animal that hangs around your neighborhood. See if you can get a picture of them, send me a message, let me know that your animal friend is interested to participate in these little sessions, and we'll see if we can't get them into the rotation before the end of April. All right, again, thanks so much for joining us here today, and until next time, take care and be well.